The global economy seems digital, decentralized, and resilient. But inside one industrial building, on one small island, every server, every camera, every missile, every AI model depends on a process that 99% of people will never see. TSMC is not a company. TSMC is the system flaw of the modern world. How did we even allow this? No bank keeps 90% of its assets in one vault. No country stores 90% of its food in one port. But today, the world keeps 90% of its most advanced chips in a single cluster of buildings on one island. Not because someone planned it, but because markets always optimize for one thing. What is cheapest and fastest and right now? TSMC wasn't born from innovation. It was born from failure. Intel believed outsourcing would never be the future. America lost the industry it originally created. And Taiwan, without the luxury of failing, made a decision nobody else dared to make. When every company made chips alongside their products, TSMC made chips instead of everyone else. It wasn't strategy, it was survival. And it became the best economic decision of the last 50 years. People say TSMC is unbeatable. The truth is simpler. TSMC does the work nobody else wants to do. Building new $20 to $40 billion factories every few years, maintaining 600-plus process steps with near-perfect precision, running 24/7 in an industry where one dust particle can cost millions. Managing a supply chain that collapses if one machine is delayed by a week. This isn't glamour, it's choreography at atomic precision. So let's talk about nanometers. Nanometers used to mean something technical. Now. They're mostly marketing. But one thing still matters. The smaller the number, the more the laws of physics fight against you. Heat, electrons, quantum tunneling. Materials that simply refuse to behave. Yet TSMC makes chips that behave predictably in an unpredictable universe. That's not a technological victory. That's a victory of engineering discipline. Apple can design the fastest processor on Earth. Nvidia can design a GPU that changes the future. But it's all just theory, until TSMC turns it into reality. That's why Apple co-finances TSMC fabs, why Nvidia waits in line, why AMD, Amazon, and Qualcomm have no alternatives. Design is vision. TSMC is the physical world. You can buy the same ASML machines. You can copy the factories. You can hire the same engineers. But you cannot buy 30 years of routine, obsession, and fear of failure. TSMC doesn't have a marketing culture, no political theater, no celebrity CEOs. TSMC has something else, extreme humility before the process. The global economy pretends to be stable, but stability is an illusion. 70% of TSMC's capacity sits 100 kilometers from the tensest border on Earth. A 3-meter tsunami could freeze global technology for half a year. A single power failure could erase a quarter of world output. Not because catastrophe is likely, but because we allowed one process to become a single point of success. But to understand why TSMC matters this much, we need to go even deeper. Into the machinery, the physics, and the culture that make this company irreplaceable. Let's start with the most important machine in modern civilization, the EUV scanner. Built only by ASML in the Netherlands, each machine costs more than $350 million and contains over 400,000 individual components. These machines fire lasers at tiny droplets of molten tin 50,000 times per second to create extreme ultraviolet light, a wavelength so small that it can carve features just a few atoms wide. And here's the part most people don't know. TSMC doesn't just use these machines, they make them better. Every time ASML ships a new EUV tool, TSMC engineers modify workflows, optimize stages, and tune alignment systems to squeeze performance the original designers never achieved. This is not just manufacturing, it's co-evolution between man and machine. And this brings us to the most terrifying number in chip production, the yield. Yield is the percentage of chips on a wafer that actually work. If the yield drops by just 5%, billions evaporate. If it drops by 20%, the product fails. The company fails. The industry pauses. TSMC's real dominance comes from achieving yields so consistently high that competitors cannot even measure the gap, because they cannot reach the same starting line. And yield is not a number, it is a culture. Inside a TSMC fab, air is 100 times cleaner than a hospital operating room. Every worker passes through layers of purification, ionized air showers, contamination checks. One hair, one particle, one static charge can ruin an entire batch. This is why TSMC factories look like laboratories, and laboratories look like temples. And while the world talks about AI, TSMC has been perfecting something more fundamental, the choreography of complexity. 3,000 steps, weeks of non-stop production, materials from 6 continents, and not one pause allowed. Can the United States, Japan, or Europe replace TSMC? In theory, yes. In practice, absolutely not. Well, you don't rebuild a $500 billion ecosystem like Lego bricks. You need 30,000 skilled engineers, 7,000 specialized suppliers, years of perfectly synchronized operations, and something that cannot be accelerated, time. TSMC spent 3 decades mastering one job. Others are trying to catch up in 3 years. So what happens if TSMC stops? This isn't science fiction. This is accounting. Toyota and Volkswagen shut down. Boeing and Airbus face years of delays. Cloud computing prices triple. AI progress slows by a factor of 10. Phones cost 2,500 euros. And global GDP drops 5 to 10%. Not because chips get expensive, but because chips don't exist. This is why governments cannot simply build their own fabs. Because fabs are not buildings. They are organisms. And yet, despite the risk, TSMC remains concentrated in one place. A place that faces earthquakes, typhoons, and the constant shadow of geopolitical escalation. Yes, governments are investing hundreds of billions to diversify semiconductor manufacturing. In Arizona, in Japan, in Germany, in Singapore. But you cannot buy 30 years of institutional memory. You cannot accelerate 3 decades of mistakes and corrections. TSMC's dominance is not a technological accident. It is a historical one. And the world, knowingly or not, has chosen to depend on it. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Our modern systems are not resilient. They are not redundant. They are not safe. They are optimized, and optimization always comes with fragility. TSMC is not just a triumph of engineering. It is a warning about the limits of global stability. This is not a video about chips. This is a video about a world that thinks it's stable until one processor disappears. Subscribe, because the next episode, NVIDIA's Real Power Play, is the second chapter of the same story.